And hello, we are on, we're live. How's everyone doing? Happy Wednesday, and to this May edition of the Development Q&A. Hope everyone is well. I see lots of familiar faces in chat, so glad you guys are joining us again today. Appreciate it. We have three lovely devs here today. I'm sure you've seen them in all the prior ones, but we're going to go ahead and do an introduction anyway. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jane. I am the community manager here for Microsoft Flight Simulator. And on screen to the left, we have Jorg.
Hi, been looking forward to this all week. Yes.
That sounds sincere. I appreciate you coming on. In the middle, we have Seb.
Hello.
Seb, thanks for joining us once again. And to our right, we have Martial.
Hello, everybody. Everybody knows you, Jane. Go for it.
I hope so, by this point, if you're following along in the streams anyway. And everyone, there is an agenda, public agenda. If you go ahead and type in !agenda, that'll bring up the forum post. You can follow along there. That's roughly the outline of what we're going to be talking about and doing today. Of course, a big part of this is answering live questions, and if you can see from the agenda, that is towards the end of today's session. So I'll try to answer a few of them throughout the stream, but our big section for answering those questions is towards the end. So try to hold them for the end there. All right, I think it's time for us to, I guess, jump right in. The first item of business is we're going to be talking about Sim Update 4, which, if you've been hiding under a rock, was released yesterday. So it's been out for about 24 hours now. And there's lots of changes and updates and bug fixes that went into that update. And we did want to talk through a few of those, and we have a few videos as well to show you kind of what we did in the latest update. So first and foremost, I'm going to jump to this screen here. Seb, I'm going to kick it off to you first to kind of talk about the flight model and some of the changes you made and adverse YALA and that kind of stuff. So I have a video here. Just let me know when you want me to show it, but I'll go ahead and kick that off to you.
Also, yeah, on Sim Update 4, which is out right now, you have the flight model, which has been updated on the two Cessna 172s, on the two Cessna 152, and on the three turboprops, the King Air, you've got the TBM and the Grand Caravan. As an effect, yes, you get more adverse yaw. You get also, I think it's less twitchy. So basically the rudder and elevator surfaces are more realistically simulated. So the update is the first iteration of this is on these 7 planes, so based on the feedback we got on this update, there was the request to have more adverse yaw. So what we did is we found data on the Cessnas, real world data on how much adverse yaw happens at really precise data based on speed and how much roll you do. And so there's a further improvement which is coming so this is going to be on the next sim update, which is going to be on all aircraft, which improves adverse yaw. And it's the ability also for aircraft creators to basically define something which was previously the same for all planes, which is aileron drag. So when the aileron goes up or down, it obviously changes the lift of the wing, which results in the wall, but it also adds some more drag. And there was no way actually for an aircraft creator to change this. It was existing. There was already some adverse yaw, but there was no way to tweak it. And so we added the possibility to change the upwards aileron drag and downwards. So which really allows to very specifically fine-tune the adverse yaw. We did some tests on the Cessna, so that's the first video on the adverse yaw. Maybe you can show that.
Sure, yeah, here we go.
And so this is the very easy test. It's just flying level, and you have very extreme roll input. So nothing else is touched. No elevator, no rudder. It's just a yoke left and right for the roll. And you can see the ball. And if you pay attention at the horizon, the nose really goes left and right. And so we measured the adverse yaw on the Cessna after the change, and we got the same numbers than the real aircraft. So thanks to these new parameters, so aileron, drag, we can now get the adverse yaw exact on all planes. So this is something we plan to update, and it's going to be open to aircraft traders so that they can also improve their aircraft and get the same result.
Great, awesome. That's fantastic explanation. Thank you for that. And I'm seeing some comments here that they're saying it's definitely flight models. It feels a lot closer to realism. So thank you so much, Seb. All right, moving on. One of the updates that we did in Sim Update 4 has to do with excessive icing. So Marcial, we'll let you talk about that. I'll go ahead and bring up this chart here as well.
Oh, okay. So we did some changes on the visuals also, so people can completely deactivate the icing, including visual. And yes, we refactored the way all the icing was calculated. I don't know what the best English is to be used. So this is the kind of information we gathered from national weather and aerials and institutions. So it's basically the same chart that is implemented in the simulation. As you can see, we'll find there some icing conditions, and it's not very precise. You've got serious, moderate, and depending on the situation you're flying. So we figure out that it was a bit too aggressive in the setup we did. So we decided to reduce this icing, and also one of the factors is that the icing is not the same on all planes. So no, everybody, like the third parties, can have some variables to tweak this icing. So it will be now more realistic and can be customized per plane. On top of that, some people are complaining about the visual because when you're flying, you can get some different kinds of icing from rime icing. Is rime the correct way to say stuff? Is it rime or rime in English? No, no, rime icing. But we decided to go to that visual because we've got only one visual. And this visual is a rime icing because it's the kind of icing that's happened most of the time. It's more than 70% of the icing condition, and on top of that, it also looks like the mixing ice conditions, which is 10% of the icing condition. So if you merge these two icing conditions, it's exactly what you get. So this is for the kind of update we did for the icing. We also did some updates on the weather itself. And for instance, we the snow coverage and the accuracy of the snow coverage. We also reduced the one with the weather dits. This is for the weather and the icing conditions.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Thank you so much, Marcial. All right, switching back to here. So Seb, there were a lot of turboprop changes to this update. And I know there are a few additional fixes we didn't talk about last time. I don't know if you want to talk about any of those fixes that are in this update.
Yeah, you may have already seen it in the release notes. The list of updates for the turboprops is a bit longer than what we talked about last time.
Yeah.
One specifically is the inertial separator, which has been also fixed in terms of how strong it is, more realistic and closer to the POH and the way it affects the torque. And for example, on the TBM, you can now get 100% torque on takeoff, even if you have the inertial separator on, which was not the case previously. So this is one of the additional fixes. And you can see if you have a look at the list, it's quite long. So it's not done, right? It was the first iteration of turboprops. There's still a lot to do in further updates, such as the beta mode. There's some in air. If you put it on reverse, there's all sorts of different things we did not, especially on ground, we did not have time to do yet. But the core torque and inertial separator and per altitude and consumption and propeller drag have been fixed, as you can see in the Reese note.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic.
Just a word, because I've seen that in the chat, some people say that the chart I've shown is for carburetor icing. It is not. We've got another one for carburetor and for propeller. It's
Gotcha.
other method. This one is ready for the cabin.
Okay, good to know. Thank you, Martial. So another one of the big changes or in the update has to do with ATC phraseology. I have a slide here. I'll kick it over to you, Martial, to talk about it. Some of the changes to ATC phraseology on screen now.
So yes, so the phraseology was using was an inheritage from FSX, and some of these was not correct anymore. So we decided to take the most important problems we had and to fix that. So this is the kind of sometimes it's the algorithm itself, like we change order on some information, or we decided not to remove some parts that were not used anymore. And sometimes it's more obvious, like some wording that are not used anymore, like copy that has been replaced by Roger, repeat by say again. So this is the kind of improvement we brought this time, and we intend to bring more with the time with the next updates.
Great. Okay. Yeah, I think that's one of the big questions is this the start? Are we going to keep updating the phraseology in the future? So it sounds like this is kind of the most important issues we're seeing, and yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there is any subject that we don't want to improve in the future.
True.
Right.
Yeah. Very true. Okay. Thanks, Martial. All right. So let me see here. Seb, can we talk a little bit about weather, pressure, and temperature? Kind of an explanation about a bug going in. I know you wanted to talk about that.
Yeah. So I think we talked about previously. It's been reported by the community. I think by some aircraft creators that there was a bug on. I mean, there were several bugs in the pitot system. One was about the pressure altitude being wrong. Then there was inconsistency between different reportings in pressure altitude. It wasn't smooth. There was also an issue that on some planes there is charts that the pitot system has an altitude error based on temperature, which was not simulated. And there was also issues with the speed. So there was a inaccurate formula for compressibility. So I think we talked about these, and we said that some of these were going to be fixed in Sim Update 4. You may have seen that they are not in the release notes. So what happened is that the fixes are actually back from they date back to February, and I mean, given the time they were. How long they've been done, I was convinced that they would be in the Sim Update 4. When we got the feedback from the testers of the build that it wasn't there, we checked, and I went all the way back to see when it was done, and yeah, it slipped into the next one. It didn't go into the right branch, and yeah, we're sorry about this, and it's going to be in the next weeks or months. So it's not in this update. And actually, when I tried to find the exact change back in February, I was kind of surprised about the number of changes which are in our Perforce basically source base. Just going back to January, I counted 40,000. So that's 40,000.
Wow.
It's just the number is just so big. I mean, people may say, yeah, it's a quite simple change. How could we not track this? It's just that there's so many 40,000 changes that it's impossible to just go in one by one and verify that they're all still there. We just do that at a certain date, and we know the date of the branching off, and so we plan that it should be in this update. And actually, it just by a few days missed the branch date, and is going to end up in the next one.
Okay.
But so in the next update, there's going to be all the pitot updates, altitude, pressure, altitude, and also the compressibility and the temperature impact on the pitot measures.
Great. And do you mean the next sim update or world update? I don't know if there's a different. Okay,
next
great.
sim update. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you, Seb. And one issue that made it to the feedback snapshot that we had as releasing in this update was the approach flyback. The approach, let me see here. Yep, approach flyback bug. Martial, I'm wondering if you can talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, and let me correct myself. I've sent you the wrong chart, so it's the carburetor I think I sent you. Sorry.
No problem.
So, okay. My mistake. It's bothered me a bit. So yeah, what we were talking about. I'm sorry.
No problem. We are talking about the approach flyback bug.
Yes. So in some conditions, even do some U-turns in the approach, and so we have identified some report steps, and this has been fixed on this update. Mm-hmm. The problem is we thought that we had fixed everything, but our friends from Working Title, they found another issue. Mm-hmm. And we are going to work with them to find a fix for that. But it's a bit more complicated to compared to the issue we fixed. So we will have to do some refactoring here and to do some improvements on our systems in order to have a full complete approach that is a fixed approach.
Okay, great. Are you able to go into like what the issue that you found was regarding the approach flyback? Is it specific to any plane?
I think that the approach was linked to the autopilot. Mm-hmm. So I can't remember exactly what were the plane that was using that system that was broken.
Yeah. Okay. No problem. All right. So a big subject. Many.
I'm sorry about this chart. That bothers me a lot. I don't know what.
Okay, so we got the wrong chart up there. All right, sorry, chat.
Yeah.
But rest assured, we have the right chart. Anyway, let's talk about trees because that's another big subject. Seb, I know you have a video here. Let me know when you'd like to play it, but I'll kick it off to you.
Yeah, I know. Can you maybe? I don't know. It's maybe not very long. Okay. But maybe you can loop it. You can just play it in loop mode or something, and sure. I'll talk to the video. We did some more investigations trying to find, because people were reporting that tree distance had changed, and indeed they did, because we did a lot of changes on the trees. And so what we did is, here I have a video. I basically went back to the captures we did for the pre-order trailer, which is almost a year ago. And so we still have the capture.
Our hunter's about to face the biggest challenge yet!
Let's do this!
Captured footage, and so it was easy to just compare side by side on the trees, how they've changed. And so basically the tree coverage distance, so how far you can see forest covering terrain, is really the same. What changed is that trees are a lot smaller because there was many species which were reported to be too big, and so we aligned the species height more on the real world tree heights. So basically we did it side by side with photos, and we took a photo of the same place and switched and really tuned the different species of trees until the tree height was correct. Because trees basically fight out at a distance. When we made the trees smaller, they didn't go as far anymore. And the other thing is, when the trees are smaller, they don't cover as much anymore, because basically the tree is just smaller, and then you need more trees to cover the same amount of terrain. And so in this video, side by side, you can really see that the distance at which you can see the trees, especially on the first one, on the sunset, you can see the little almost hairy mountain. It's at the same distance, and the trees disappear at around the same It's going to be a little bit less than 10 miles. But when you zoom in, you can see that all the trees are smaller, and there's a lot more. Like especially, for example, here you can see that so the coverage is the same. You can see, for example, at the distance that where there was no tree. Here, pre-roll the trailer back to the trailer. When we zoom in, you can see that on the left side, which is the old pre-order trailer, you can even see each tree. You can see the little blobs.
Mm-hmm.
And on the new, they are so small that it's just almost like a noise. Here you can see that that's sort of visible. It's I can't see it. Maybe on the video compression you can see it.
Yeah.
But they're about twice as small. And on this approach here, this is Seattle. You can see it on the commercial areas at mid distance that there on the pre-order trailer there wasn't even any trees, and now there are actually quite a lot of trees at that distance. It's because the area to cover was too small for the big trees. So a year ago they didn't show up, and now that the trees are smaller, they just basically fit into the space.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a lot more trees at that medium distance. So basically, to summarize, coverage, which is how much tree covers terrain, is the same, and it goes up to the same distance. But trees are smaller, more realistic height, and more dense to basically have the same coverage than before. So if people have side-by-side bugs or issues in specific places, we're happy to investigate further. Also, I think we already talked about this. Our plan is in the future to allow users to push up the terrain level of detail above what it is currently at the limit. Basically, we're waiting to finish the current optimizations to the engine. And once we have that done, we will be able to unlock that. But currently, yeah, the terrain distance and detail is really about the same than it was a year ago. It's just smaller trees, basically. And
so,
more dense.
yeah, it sounds like that's that. I see in chat some people are asking about a tree slider. Is that essentially kind of what you're working towards?
It's already in there. It's just that when you max it out, you get the current detail. There is really actually a tree detail slider already. I think the idea was more to allow it to go beyond its current maximum.
Great. Okay.
That's really the request, and that's something we're gonna open up in the future.
Okay. Fantastic. Thank you, Seb. One question I am seeing in chat, Jorg, I'm hoping you will be able to speak to this. Would you be able to comment a little on the partner process as far as, I know there was in the past a backlog and where we've been working through accepting partners. Do you have any updates to kind of that process in general?
Yeah, so we're always caught up. I think there's like 30, 40 things that are sort of in the pipeline, but we publish 30, 40 things a week.
Okay.
There was a lot of discussions. We read everybody's feedback and heard everybody's feedback. As a matter of fact, I remember Chris from Working Title was talking to me about this exact point the other day, that we need to find a better way to prioritize certain things. And I agree. So we are currently working through options. Takes a little bit of time. We thought initially that the voting system would do the job, that you would basically prioritize that way, but it's work in progress. But we heard you loud and clear that this needs to be improved. So just trust it that we're on it.
Great, thanks, Jorg. And we're gonna go to a very brief break screen while we grab our guest here from Working Title so we can talk about some updates from Working Title. So we'll be right back. All right, we have Matt on the screen. You've seen him before from Working Title, who has joined us here at Microsoft Flight Simulator. Thank you for joining. Jorg, I'm going to let you kind of take this one and talk about what we're going to be discussing with Working Title.
Oh, me? I don't know
if you had anything to say before Matt spoke.
Working Title has been absolutely kicking ass.
Yeah.
It's been wonderful to work with them, and the daily collaboration is fantastic. And I think you saw the first fruits of that labor in the update already. So, but now, it's your
All
time.
right, Matt, take it away.
Yeah, I talked a little bit here about the things that we collaborated with on Sim Update 4. One of the things that we've been very big on getting nav data accurate and getting navigation accurate and all that kind of stuff. And so one of the things that we did is collaborated to analyze the current nav data and just see where there might be some gaps. And as you all saw in the in the release notes, now we are integrating the FAA data into the sim now too. So I realize that's it's kind of a regional thing. It's not an answer to all of the gaps necessarily. But we're looking at everything, right? And we don't want to stop there necessarily. But it was something that we wanted to help sort of start to address. So just have to thank everybody at Asobo for all the hard work that they did getting the FA data in, and that I think was a big win for everybody. So pretty happy about that. And then another thing that Working Title did, was just kind of a late addition that you all saw, was the Sim Connect traffic you can now get on the JavaScript side. I know that there was a lot of people who were working on JavaScript that wanted that, and people who are flying, various modded planes that are working that are on top of the JavaScript stack, wanted to see that Sim Connect traffic, the VATSIM, IVAO, and all that kind of stuff. So that was one of the other things that we got in there. So yeah, we've been in there, and we've been in the code, and it's been a lot of fun. And we're just having a good time, and it's great to be part of the team.
Awesome, thanks, Matt. And I have a video here. I don't know if you want me to start playing it now. If you want to talk through that. Yeah,
sure? That'd be great. So here's this is what's coming next for Working Title. So we are announcing here that we actually have been working on the G1000. We are going to be producing a sort of early access version of the G1000 NXI, and that will be coming about probably either late June or early July. We're not totally sure exactly when that will land, but it's going to be in that time frame. So as you can see here, we're showing a couple of interesting approaches. Let's see, there's Pasco is an approach we have on there, 21 right, the ILS. It's got a DME arc, that's really cool. Queenstown, we are showing that approach. Palm Springs, it's got a really neat like RNP thing that it does. And then we've got EGLL with this, the 27 left has this crazy swoopy approach that's really fun to fly. And so the cool thing about this is there's a couple of firsts. One is that everything, the way that the whole flight plan system, we're basing it off of what we did with the CJ4, but it's all new code. We took what we learned, but we're doing it a little bit differently. And the way that it's happening now is it's all leg based. So the way that the autopilot will fly will be based on exactly the ARINC leg types. The flight plan gets vectorized basically, instead of being based on the old, kind of fixed position waypoints. So as you fly, the flight path is actually being updated, the turn radiuses are being updated, all that kind of stuff. So every leg type that exists, you'll be able to fly with this. So, procedure turns, RF, all that kind of stuff. So we're really psyched about it. You can see, if you watch a video, we've got it on loop here. There are a couple little things in there that we're not done with, of course, which is why, it's not coming right today. But we've been working really hard on it, and it's going to be a lot of fun to fly. So yeah, early access coming in about a month and a couple weeks.
That's incredible. Thank you, Matt. Yep, chat is super stoked about that. Thanks for sharing what's coming. Very exciting. Thank you so much, Matt, for joining us. Does anyone have anything else to add before we let him go? Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Matt. We'll go back to a break screen just for a couple seconds here. So chat, we'll see you in a minute. Thanks.
Sure. Thanks, everybody.
Yep. Bye.
All right, we're back. Hey, everyone. Next thing we're talking about from the agenda is, of course, World Update 5, and Jorg is here to talk about that and what's coming.
Yeah, I just wanted to give you a quick update how it's going. It's going great. But before we talk about World Update 5, I wanted to say for all of us, thank you for those who participated in the Sim Update 4 flighting test. That helped a ton. It was really great feedback. It helped us Sobo fix a bunch of key bugs before we released yesterday. And it's been awesome. I think it's completely repeatable. So looking forward to doing more of that. So thank you.
Agreed. Yep. Thanks, everyone.
All right, so World Update 5. As you know, it's 5 countries, so it's a lot. I've only I made a bunch of screenshots, 5 per country, just to go through it and see where we are.
Yeah.
So if we start with Denmark, and Jane just go through it quickly.
Will do. Okay.
So we're starting all the way in the south and we're going north. So here's Agerskov Castle. Just keep going. Frederiksborg Castle, because there's way too many things. This is the Lego house, if you've ever been to Denmark. Lego house. Copenhagen looks great. We obviously have the Tin City. This is also in Copenhagen. Then we go over the bridge to Sweden, and just keep going. This is just a lot of, hey, the turning torso, which is a cool place. There's one of many, many bridges, if you know Sweden at all. And now we're going north and further north. Now we're in Kiruna, all the way north. Have a bunch of steel. Go over to Finland. And yep, Turku, and off we go. Keep going. Helsinki, obviously, working on the 3D city there. This is now getting to the north. Now we're way north and super way north. And then we're going over to Norway. We started at the northern part of Norway, Arctic Cathedral. We're going down to Trondheim, right here. This is one of the fjords. You can see the height field looks really great. This is Holmenkollen, if you like ski jumping like me. This is a big deal. And this was Oslo. And now we're going just the end. Here we are in Reykjavik, Perlan. Here's the big church. And then we're all the way north towards Greenland. And wanted to show you some pictures that Gaia sent. They are obviously working hard at the airports. There's going to be 5. We have pictures of 3. So here's Bornholm in Denmark. Keep rolling through. I think Gaia's doing a great job. I hope you agree. So in this particular case, Bornholm is a smaller airport. Then we're going over to Sweden here in a second, to the largest airport in this update, Arlanda in Stockholm. Keep rolling. And then finally, we're showing Vaasa, which is also kind of a smaller airport, but a really nice one in Finland. So everything is basically done. You can tell we're essentially at the end. Oh yeah, there's 2 more airports. Svalbard is almost done. We're just putting it into the sim now. And then Asobo is making Ísafjörður in Iceland. Don't have any pictures, but I'm sure it's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
So that's where we are. We have not locked, funny enough, we have not exactly locked our ship date. There's some debate if we should do it on June 29th or June 15th. I think there's a lot of evidence that we're shooting for June 15th. So, and it's gonna be a great update. We have new dam, new aerials. The dam is great. It goes from 50 centimeters to 2 meters. Yeah. Oh yeah, Faroe Islands. We're on it. Yep.
Oh, sweet. Okay.
Editors looking at this. I think people said that last time was Faroe and Svalbard, and we looked at Jan Mayen and those types of places. So yeah, we're on it.
Awesome. Thank you. And we have a new partner.
Yeah. So we are, as you know, obviously with Working Title, we have a great partnership with Orbex, with other companies. We also have been very impressed with Perfect Flight. They have done a bunch of really cool flight packages that you can, purchase, but we wanted them to help us with the World Update flights, either the bush flights or the landing challenges. So World Update 5 is the first one that will come from that organization. We're really looking forward to that. We hope and we think it's going to be a long-term partnership. So welcome Perfect Flight. Welcome.
Awesome. That's really exciting, and we have another cool little announcement here that requires the presence of someone. So to kick that off, yes, we will just jump to a BRB screen real quick and we'll get that person on. So see you in a second. All right, we have our next guest, Jorg. I'll let you introduce him.
You guys are pretty good with your guesses. So yes, for what it's worth, I was very, very happy about Robert's announcement. But it's not Robert. As a matter of fact, it is your number one request. Remember, fly-by-wires A320, and I was super, super happy. This is all working out as we hoped it would. We are going to have the aircraft in our marketplace tomorrow, which is great. And we have Will here, Iceman Will from Working Title. Thank you
from fly-by-wire. Yes.
Oh,
just a little off there.
Fly-by-wire. Take two.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, so honestly, just to give a brief overview of the project, I'm sure everyone's familiar with it, but it started last August. It's just a small group of people that I founded to kind of add a couple things to the A320. And it's like honestly grown so much since then. I never foresaw it becoming this big of a project. And it's just amazing to see how many developers, contributors, and even like the pilots and engineers who give us feedback on this to make it accurate as possible, how much work they put into this. So it's amazing. And then to be able to also offer it on the marketplace so even more people can get to experience it, especially when Xbox comes around, it's going to be a huge plus. And yeah, so just to give an overview of what to expect in the future, recently in our development version, we have integrated our custom fly-by-wire system, custom autopilot, and engine model. And we're currently working to perfect our electrical and hydraulic simulation. So that's all like physically modeled. You'd have things like battery discharge modeled, accumulators, brakes, and actuators, and the hydraulic simulation are going to be modeled too. And we're building off of Working Title's work on the flight plan manager to basically complete the lateral navigation component of our autopilot system. So that's been in the works for the past couple of months. We hope to have a first version of that out soon. And then after that, we'll finish that off with vertical navigation code. So you'll be able to basically have a full flight you can use with autopilot from point A to point B, origin to destination airport, and it'll function as close as possible to the real A320 as we can get it. So that's really exciting. We're adding new stuff to our EFB. So a lot of people want charts integrated. That's coming soon. Panel states, so you can start cold and dark, turnaround state, or on a runway. And maybe even practice approaches too. So we'll see. Mm-hmm. And then some cool ACARs and hopefully CPDLC down the line. And obviously 3D model improvements. We have some people on our team working on a Blender plugin. So I think for the community, it'll be really useful to both import and export things and work in Blender too. So yeah, just wanted to give that kind of overview of our development, what to expect in the future. And if there are any questions from the chat, I'll be happy to answer them.
Awesome. Thank you, Will. Yep. Chat, if you have any quick questions for Will here about this project, feel free to shoot off. He'll answer what he wants. We're really excited to have you, Will. And yeah, for people wondering what that means, that in the marketplace, you will be able to download the fly-by-wire model. Just a big thank you. Thanks, Speed Break.
Mm-hmm. So some people are asking like what version of the plane's gonna be in the marketplace. We're going to do the stable version of the aircraft. It'll just be easier to work with. And flight dynamics and model, yeah, we have one of our really talented guys working on the flight model. We're constantly comparing it to any real world data references we get. So I think it's in a pretty accurate state, but we'll constantly tweak that. And we'll be, as new things get out to the SDK, we'll be taking full advantage of them. So definitely. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think those are the main ones. I haven't seen cargo version, not too familiar about that. I don't think we have any plans for that, if there is a cargo version in real life. So yeah, our goal is to kind of get as close to real life as possible, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. This question, maybe it's more for Jorg. How often will the model update on the marketplace?
I think Will can answer this because we talked about Blender and all this stuff before. Mm-hmm. I mean, whenever fly-by-wire wants to do an update, we'll do an update. Simple.
Great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so stable updates hopefully once we get into regular schedule, once we kind of get the last major bugs fixed, will probably be like once every 2 months or so. Because as we get it to like a good state, we're not going to have updates as often. It'll be more smaller bug fixes, but yeah.
Okay, very cool. All right, I think if there's any more questions, let me know, Will. Otherwise, we'll say goodbye, but thank you for joining us, Will. Appreciate it. Everyone expect the fly-by-wire will be live in the marketplace tomorrow, probably with our standard marketplace update.
I mean,
thank you, everyone.
Because we don't ever talk to Will that fly-by-wire. You guys rock. It was one of the greatest, delightful surprises when we started. We had no idea that there would be such a team emerging out of nowhere. I mean, it's amazing. And then and the work is great. And thank you for everything that you do, all of you guys. And Phil, obviously, we talk more.
Yeah, just a small part of it, but our team, yeah, they've done so much amazing work. So thank you guys so much.
Awesome. Thanks, York. Thank you, Will. All right. We will see you guys in a moment, going to a break screen. Thanks. And we are back. Hey everyone. All right. Lots more to talk about. We have about, looks like 40 minutes here. So let's move on. Thanks everyone for the support. I'm glad to see everyone is excited to see Will on screen and chat with him a little bit. We have one more announcement we want to share. Let me switch to the screen. It's a plane announcement. All right, go ahead.
Remember last time we announced the Just Solo, which I think quite a few of you really liked and were really happy about that. And then the ATIS making progress. We have another plane that Sobo has been working on, and I have some pictures. I don't have a video yet.
Here's a close-up.
Ooh.
What is it?
What could it be?
Any guesses in chat?
Come on. Is it? It's a Husky. Oh. Yeah. So it's the Aviat Husky A1C, and there's many good reasons why this is being done. Here's a couple more pictures. Awesome plane.
Really cool photos.
And a bear. Yeah. Yeah. So we are thinking about releasing this. We've been toying with the idea. When is the right time? We think around August is the right time. There's going to be some things associated with that plane that we can't just quite yet talk about, but it's super cool and it makes a big difference. So look forward to the plane, and Sobo's doing awesome.
Awesome. Question from Evidence, please. Is this another default level aircraft?
Default level. It's a payware, if that's what you mean. Like just like last time, but we're trying to price it such that you guys are feeling that it's very fair. We want to always be. We never want to come across any other way than this is great value.
Awesome. Great announcement. Let me see here. If there's any questions in chat about it. Can you put bush tires on it? Good question. Mod? Do we have any details on like the flight model and avionics? How close to like study level, or I think that may be what the question was more about, as far as default level, or how involved is everything in the actual plane?
We should ask Seb on flight model things for sure.
Hi, Seb.
Oh yeah. So what we just like on the Just Solo, for example, on the next update, you will see that it's going to take advantage of all the updates we did on the control surfaces, on the adversarial. Every time we bring in a new improvement of the flight model, we're going to roll it out over all the planes. And so yeah, this one is going to include all the latest improvements, all the learnings, all the feedback from the community. Basically, we're going to have the plane already integrate the feedback, even though it's been made on other planes. So for example, we've had a lot of feedback on propeller planes, a lot of feedback on the Cessna, and all these learnings on yeah, like the Adversio, they're gonna be already in there. And we're also pushing the simulation, just like for the just so we added the clutch simulation. It's a different engine type. Basically, we're adding features to make the simulation more realistic, and so it's the same process for this new plane, where there's new realistic features, and also and if there's new feedback, obviously it's going to be integrated as well by then.
Okay, thank you so much, Seb. Okay, let's go take a look at our feedback snapshot here. Let's see if this works. All right. I know there's a couple items you guys wanted to chat about. Probably the most important one that we're getting questions in chat on is about the replay functionality. So Seb, I know you have an update on that.
Yep. So the replay functionality, we started a prototype a while ago. The team has finished entirely reworking the replay basically system, the core system, how it works in the architecture. They have made I would say a little bit raw dev UI, and our video team has been using the new replay system over a few weeks now. So it's out of prototype. It's out of we have really a first version of a new system that's working. And now what it really needs is a UI design that is more user friendly. So that's the next step. That's going to go into production. It's out of first prototype, and so yeah, we're entering into the production, and so it's going to line up in one of the next updates. But yeah, it's out of prototype and going into production.
Okay, that's awesome.
It's on its way.
Yeah, that's great. Do we have an update, Jorg, on Scenery Gateway System?
Yeah, so it's great to see that people actually read the feedback update. So people have noticed that we went from prototype to not started. So the prototype is complete. We now have a complete spec. And as what Marcial and I and Lanny, our executive producer on our side, are talking about a lot is like, what are we doing post Xbox? Because the Xbox is coming closer and closer and closer. So there is we had initially thought that we're going to do the gateway system with external resources. We might do it internally at a server instead. Okay. So there's a little bit of a pause.
We saw the possibilities, that what's best for the athlete must be better for the planet. So we're making products with recycled materials, products made to be remade, and products made with nature. So all people can see the possibilities to take action and help end plastic waste. So we still have places to play.
But we have now a complete spec. We know what it is. We got feedback from some of you. Thank you. 8 of you to be precise. But it was useful. And so we know what we're doing, and it's coming, and it's planned for this year.
Awesome. That's great. Speaking of post Xbox, I don't know how much you can actually talk about, but I know community is wondering about just general priorities as far as the sim goes, whether it's performance or VR. Do we have anything like that we can share?
Well, we're working through it. I mean, I think people know that we are guided by the feedback snapshot. Some people who pay attention to it see that the VR one hasn't been updated in a while. That is because the team was recently only working on the top one, which we said, which is 6-DOF controller. But we just yesterday discussed exactly how we staff this, when we're going to start it. The goal is to have something. So I think somebody earlier said 80% good, 20% to go. Yeah, and we know, and we have big goals to make VR really great by the end of the year.
Very cool.
But then overall, when we say performance, I think Seb talked about it last time. I think you all will be super happy with the performance upgrades that come your way with the, when we launch Xboxes as a different branch with tons and tons of performance improvements, and Seb discussed this in detail. I think that'll do a lot. So performance might drop a little bit in people's priority list, because if it's good, it's good, So then we'll look at all the other lists, all the other things that are on the list.
Right.
And I mean, those dates, we actually spend a ton of time talking about exactly when we can do what. So those dates they're realistic. That's our goal.
Okay.
If it says 21, it's in 21. If it says 21, 22, we're not sure if 21 is enough time. If it's 22, it's next year.
Okay, thanks, Jörg. Before we move on, is there anything anyone else wants to talk about, whether in the top bugs or top wishes section? If not,
I wanted to say something about gliders, because I think it was number 7 or so. We have found a partner that has a ton of insight, and we will announce that probably next time. But it's great. I mean, those are folks that know everything about gliders, so we can obviously do their part, but having deep insight helps us a lot. And we're looking, actually, because higher up as helicopters, we're currently evaluating potential partners for helicopters, because we're going to do the same thing. I mean, I personally was pretty damn impressed with the freeway Airbus that came out. Played it for a little bit, learned that helicopters are hard. I learned that. Then obviously the Bell is cool. So clearly helicopters are something that everybody wants. So we're going to be very thoughtful of who the right long-term partner is to develop that correctly.
Okay, cool. Thank you. As we go into our Q&A section here, there's one question I've already been seeing popping up a lot. I think this will be for you, Jörg. Can you comment a bit on model matching for those planes that are in the marketplace, but people don't own them? Right now we see default Bonanzas, and curious if there's any comments we want on that.
So I read it, because it was in the chat the entire time, so I wrote it down. I don't know how to do it, so we need to go, because it's basically you would have to download all this. It seems like a lot of downloads. And I think I think first off, thank you for giving the feedback here. Like, we're going to take a look at it. But that all being said, we've said that now a few times. I think we are working on improving the air traffic a lot, with a lot more unique models. So I think it'll be, I mean, our goal is to be accurate. That means we have to model a lot of things. So that is the goal. That might be what you all really want. But anyways, I think there's a technical component that we need to really think through if this is even possible. Matching the model, as Jan said. I don't know
well, maybe you can talk about that. It's not only having some technical issues, it's also legal issues, because like in the past you could have downloaded like a packs of I don't know, thousands of models. I'm not saying about Flight Sim 2020, but thousands of models, and we've got to be playing with legals. So it's not like we're going to provide planes that matches what you can find outside without paying the rights. So it's also this kind of constraints, right? So if you don't own the plane, you're not supposed to display that. So we've got to find a way to make it match.
I think we'll get it right, at least on the model side. Like, I can tell you, I think we have the top 25 plane manufacturers in the world. We have really good relationships with about 18. And that means once we have a good relationship and we have figured out a way to work with each other, then we're taking flight aware data, literally, and looking at exactly which planes are in the air over the year. And we are prioritizing, and we're literally just going down the stack, how many flights are there, and then we model those planes. And they will at some point show up in air traffic. And then with liveries, that's another thing that warrants some attention. We need to really go, I think there is a thing with community liveries, which are great, and actually they're so great that you'll see this soon in an upcoming trailer. You'll see some community liveries, because we want to celebrate what everybody's making. How we can get that maybe into air traffic is something we could discuss, but it's not. It's one of those, yes, we need to go think about it, and then we heard you, and our goal is to make you happy. So so give us a little bit of time on that one.
Okay, great. And this is directly related to that question, which is the first kind of pre-selected question, is what is the latest on AI and live traffic improvements?
Well, we talked to AIG, I can tell you that much,
Nice.
because that came up in the line, and that was a countryman of mine that I talked to, super nice individual. And he wrote us a bunch of feedback that has all been ingested to the team. He's been on vacation for the last 2 weeks. He just came back and wrote me an email this like yesterday, I think, saying, I'm back. So there will be a meeting between, I'm not going to say his name because I don't know if he wants to, but like between that individual and us, and then we'll talk through what we can do. But he has a bunch of good ideas. So I think we're on it.
Great. Okay. Thank you. Second question is it possible to use the new terrain LOD technique by Orbix to reduce morphing?
Seb?
Yep, Seb.
We lost Seb.
Oh yeah, I can take it.
Yes.
So we actually, I think it's said on the investigation there's a related issue about rounded mountains or something. So we're investigating this a lot, and as we're also doing a lot of optimizations, we're currently working in these systems. It's a very complex system. What you need to understand is that there's the terrain has many different components. There's what is displayed. It's really a gridded mesh, which is actually of a very high resolution. If you enable wireframe somehow, maybe with a graphics driver, so you'll see that there's a lot of polygons, way more than there's actually data. And then the data is downloaded from the Azure servers. So we download one piece of data for them for each LOD. So it goes from all the way from 1 to 19. And so we don't have currently a mesh morphing between the different LODs. But the terrain mesh LOD, I mean, the number of polygons is so high that it's not like you would see polygons popping in and out. We have if you enable temporal anti-aliasing, there's going to be a 10 or so frames, so maybe a quarter of a second or so number of frames, which are going to transition smoothly from one system to the other. We don't have a geometry morph. And then it's all about the data as it is on Azure, as it is stored. And so there is basically ingestion from data providers who we get the new DEMs from when we do updates. And when we get higher resolution data, it updates all the chain of DEMs all the way from the top to the bottom. Mm-hmm. And there's an algorithm which tries to make that smooth. This can, when the data is lower resolution, it can round. And it can also create pops, right? DEM pops. And so we're investigating to improve this. I'm not really sure that it's a mesh morphing issue, rather than more like a system to make sure that the DEMs, when they are ingested, are maybe improved in terms of how they are in regards to each other in terms of LODs. Basically, the system, what it does, it tries to fix errors, because the data, when you get it in, it can have spikes, it can have all sorts of issues, and so there's a system which basically cleans up the data. So we're investigating, they're really related, both issues, and we're getting a lot of, like, there's the wall updates where we get a lot of new data all the time, and so we check how that data works, and we're working on improving that system. Whether we add a morph system on the actual mesh at the end, it's really a different question. I don't think that's where currently there is any issue. I think it's more in the data in between, because there's way enough mesh definition.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the only other thing to say is, like, when we started, most of the world we had was 30-meter DEM, but that's what the world updates are all for, right? We're getting better aerial material, and we're getting much better DEM. So in this latest world update 5, it's between 50 centimeters and 2 meters. So it's a dramatic improvement. We're going to have to look at this, and Seb obviously just talked about the morphing, and that's something we really need. But I can tell you, based on your comments, we've got ourselves a bunch of video. We watched your videos. We are looking at this now at a lot of detail, because there was another feedback snapshot thing, which was mountainous terrain was disappointing or something. We take that seriously, it made us a little sad. but we are determined. Like I keep saying, we're determined to make the best digital twin of Earth we can possibly get. So that means the height field will be better. Whether or not there's a real problem with the morphing is needed, or if the temporal anti-aliasing can do that, we'll see.
Okay, thank you so much. I was
It
seeing.
looks like people are not understanding what DEM is.
Sure.
DEM is the
digital elevation map.
Yeah.
You can think about it as a height field.
It's
There's different types. There's DSM and DTM and others. But
Okay.
it's just think about it like you get from planes or wherever you get it from, mostly planes. You get basically a height point tests. And the resolution is what we talk about when it's like 3 meter DEM. You have a height point every 3 meters.
Okay.
It's not bad, but like 50 centimeters is better, clearly.
Right. Cool. Thanks for the explanation. A question I'm seeing in chat here, if someone could answer. Is there a reason why we can't display the sim rate level, or an easy way to get notified of what rate you're at?
You mean FPS, frame per second?
No, I think the time scaler.
Oh.
There's no reason. It's the first time I hear about it, but yeah, it should not be hard to add. I don't know. It's just, you know, when you play 16x speed, to just display
yes,
like
yes.
When you have a slow motion, I don't know, 6x or 4x.
Yeah.
Okay, simulation rate.
It's pretty easy. Yeah.
That'd be cool. Okay. All right. Our next question here from the community. Is Asomo working on a way to remove photogrammetry overhangs for bridges, etc., without having to resort to custom models? And I think Jorg, if you can answer this one.
Can you say that question again?
Sure. Basically, you know, in any photogrammetry object that's not solid kind of gets filled in the sims. So there's a couple examples on the screen there. So would there ever be a way in the future where instead of having custom models, if this could be some kind of AI generated or something that we can improve in the future?
So this is, honestly, the way this works is, you know, you get a point cloud and the point cloud generates a mesh. And have typically, given that you can't see underneath, it's taken from an airplane, right? You can't see underneath. So it just creates the skirt.
Right.
Typically, we hand edit this. This is done on the Bing Maps side. They have a 3D editing team.
Okay.
But they also have a new process coming that I wanted to talk about at a later date, which will make this all a lot better.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, look, this is not okay. We know this in some tin areas. New York, for example, is one of those where they can't fly under the bridges, and that stinks. So we're going to go fix this. I think it'll be a 2022 thing, but then we're doing it on a big scale, like not just do some individual bug fixes here and there. It's going to be actually fixed.
Okay. Got it. Thank you, Jorg. And on kind of that same topic, will we ever see AI generated water masks in the future? And this is, let me see here. So right now, you know, we mentioned in the past Q&A, they're kind of like hand painted or something along those lines. So I think maybe more clarification on how that works, or if it's how much is AI, how much is data.
So for the moment, it's really on craft because we don't have any AI that detects the quality of a texture. Because we can have an AI that can guess if a place should be worth to be seen. But you know, depending of the picture we've got, like if you picture with different lighting conditions, you will not get the same kind of images for the water. So far we don't have an AI that is good enough to give a good estimation if it's worth to be shown or not.
We're actually we're going to most likely try some other stuff. Like, so just imagine when you take a photograph from a plane, right? The direction of the light matters greatly, how much you see of what's underneath the water, right? If it's late afternoon, oftentimes you see nothing and all you see is reflection. Instead, we are, and actually somebody said Robert earlier, Robert from PMDG asked me this like a year and a half ago or something, if we would do bathymetry. Bathymetry is the height field underwater, and we haven't done it yet, but it's something we want to look at. And then maybe it's possible that once you have the actual height of the underwater terrain, essentially, given that it's a physically accurate simulation, it could actually give us some of the effect, but Seb pointed out, we just talked about this actually just yesterday. It depends kind of like, is it volcanic underneath or sand? That makes a huge difference, right? So, but we're, like, Seb, do you want to, you look like you're ready to say.
You muted, Seb.
So, sorry, I thought I unmuted. The term water mask is a little bit tricky. So by water mask, I understand a mask which tells you where the limit of the water and the land is, right? And so this we actually have for the entire planet, and pretty accurately. What we basically, the engine is really it's simulating and rendering water as if it was a cloud or something. It's you know, it's a semi-opaque thing, and it's a scattering. In order to do that perfectly, we need the water color. We need the water depth, so that's the bathymetry. How deep is it, so that you can basically have more or less scattering of the water color. And we need to know what is underneath. We need a picture of the ocean floor, and you be able to display that. And so when we hand make a water mask, the only thing we say is we make the water more or less opaque. Basically, it's like if we added debris to the water to make it less transparent, because the quality of the underwater picture is not good. And so we have basically underwater, I mean, we have satellite data of the entire planet, even in the middle of the ocean, but it's not always very good, because in the middle of the ocean, well, there's just water and sunlight reflections. And what they hand make is, when they find an area on the planet where there's great underwater pictures, they target and say, oh, here, it's pretty nice, and we just turn it on. It's already been there. It's just that we make the water less deep. If we can get the information, so it's all about data. If we can get great bathymetry, we can then perfectly render the water depths. The water color we already have, because we sort of average this of the satellite picture. It's not super precise, but we get like maybe 100-meter resolution of water color. And then we need great underwater pictures. And some satellite images have it. You usually need to take it at low tide or stuff like that. And this is just another data source problem. The technology can do it. It's just about when we can get the data.
Okay, cool. Interesting question from chat.
I want to say something.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I saw the 787 thing a few times. So
Sure,
I'm super sensitive about one thing, which is we really, really want to be fair, right? So and we are aware that the 787 might not be exactly what folks have been hoping for, or what it could be or should be. We have lots of meetings about this. Like, what are we doing with the premium deluxe and premium planes? And there is actually a effort underway to look at the next steps on that. There's actually a core sim strike team that is looking at that exactly at this issue right now. And we are not going to abandon that plane or any of the other ones in the premium deluxe package.
Great. Yeah, that's good news. That's great news. Thank you, Jorg. Here's a question from chat. So when are we planning to release the documentation for the SDK for the visual effects editor? I don't know if the three of you know that or not.
When exactly, I don't know. I know that it's planned. I know that it's an ongoing process, because we are not 100% satisfied of what we've got right now. And so we are going to bring some improvements, and once it will be sufficient on this side, the commission will be published.
Yeah, I mean, for what it's worth, Eric and Alize, like some of you met maybe during the SDK stream. We have another SDK stream, I believe, coming up in June.
Yeah.
So
yes,
they know, they really,
so
they have their own.
We will make sure that they will give you the information at this time.
Yep. And BK's asking, what about Answer Hub? I think it was last week's dev update. They pretty much said Answer Hub will be most likely live within a month here. So they're just finishing that up.
Close. It's close. We're doing some visual to the appearance, but functionality wise, I think they're almost there.
Yeah.
True.
All right. The next question is about an update. Can we have an update on the logbook pop-up bug? And
oh yeah.
Yes.
So we said that we want to change the behavior of it. At least we want to offer the possibility of tweaking this behavior, but it has not been done yet. I don't want to give you more information on that because sometimes we've got like a design, but this has consequences. So I don't want to do like some kind of raw design right now, but it's something we want to bring soon. So it would be I think we committed for 2021. So
I mean, we saw it jump up in the feedback snapshot. So I think I added a double arrow to it or something just to make sure that people see how big a deal it is. So once this happens, we obviously look at it right away. It's just like that. Remember the terrain spikes many months ago? You looked at that too. So it's a known and understood. Like a lot of you saying it's annoying. We heard you.
Yeah. All right, next question. Will we have NavBlue charts one day?
Let's see.
I hope so.
Yep. That's the plan. I mean, we're talking to them about the specific data sets. Again, there's a strike team on that too, including the working title folks. We're taking a hard, long look exactly what the data is we have and data we might not have, and then what exactly we can do about it. But it's clear that it's important.
Yes. Thank you. Can we get an FPS counter that doesn't require enabling dev mode and also works in VR?
Oh, yes. So far, yes, it's the case. You've got to enable developer mode. So it's like for the sim rates, it's something we should check because I do think that's everything that is rendered in developer mode using the technology we've got is displayed on the main screen. And if it's not, it should not be very convenient in VR. So we've got to put some code there. It's a feature that we need to do exactly like for the sim.
Fantastic, thank you. All right, this is a great question. When can we expect ICAO ATC phraseology in the sim? So we talked about FAA integration. Do we have any news or anything we can share about ICAO?
It's also something we would like to do, like to adapt the phraseology to the area you're flying over. So yes, it's also in the pipe. As I said when we were talking about the ATC, I don't think there's any subject on this sim that we don't want to improve, and ATC is part of that, of course.
Yeah, we have some ambitious plans that involve the audio itself. Like, so there's the logic and then there's the audio itself. We're doing some, what I think could be just an amazing thing that might come out in 2022. But in general, ATC comes up a lot, and we are going to take a look at it more holistically than, I think we tried to fix some bugs that people pointed out with the phraseology lately, but I think there's a much bigger discussion to be had.
Yeah.
We haven't had yet. We've started on it, but like, as I said, we're taking it one thing at a time, but it's clear that it's not exactly what everybody loves. And you're right, it's a lot of it has to do with FSX and its legacy. So let's see how we can improve on that system. I mean, third parties have done it, so it can be done.
Right. Yeah. Cool. Next is about a bug. Any update on the ATIS reporting incorrect cloud layers? There's a screenshot there as well.
Yeah, in fact, I've got some updates. So for some reason, the code we did in some condition was not able to consider something less than few clouds. So the clear clouds couldn't happen on the ATIS. So this is fixed already, and it should be published in Simulate 5. So yeah, thank you to the community because it's not something we've detected, and it's by reading the feedback that we were able to understand exactly what's going on there.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you, everyone, for reporting that and sharing information on it. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, we do.
Do you want to talk real quick, because I see it Persistent sometimes wins, right? So Seb, did you see that thing? Somebody saying in Boston and JFK frame rate is consistently bad. I know you've been looking at it.
Yes. So as I think we explained last time, and Jörg also mentioned, we're really investing a lot of time into performance optimization. And so, yeah, specifically for I mean, I'm running JFK on an airliner every day. And so this is something we're looking actively into. There's really, I would say, in JFK, for example, there's 3 reasons. One is most of the time you come with an airliner, and you have all seen in the frame rate counter, there are several numbers, and one of this is all the glass cockpit work. This is going to be moved to a different thread, CPU thread, so it's going to not basically impact the simulation frame rate anymore. So that was a big win. It's smoothed out really. Then there's been a lot of improvements on the whole terrain streaming. So this is more when you do I would say a low pass over something like JFK, and then there's just general optimization. So I think it's going to be a lot better in the next few updates. But whether it's going to be perfect, we'll always get more feedback. But I've seen dramatic improvements in these areas. At least it's a lot more steady. Frame rate goes down a little bit, but you don't see these jumps up and downs anymore.
Very cool. Okay. Awesome, Seb. Thanks. We have another question here. What work is being done on allowing users to create schedules for custom offline traffic? Maybe it's for you, Jörg.
I think this is related to the AIG work that we need to go. We just need to engage now that Kai said hello, by the way. So Kai, Kai. Now that Kai's back, we can actually have like a longer dialogue. So far, we've seen all his feedback and his improvement ideas. So now we just need to talk about it. But at some point, that'll go, further once we've improved it.
Great. Okay, we'll look for an update on that in later dev Q&As. Question here is, when can we expect to see historical weather in the sim?
Yeah, so it's interesting. So we get live weather from NavBlue, as you know, and we keep working on improving that. I believe they have some, like, first off, it's a gigantic amount of data worldwide, just to say that. They have some data that is around, but when people say historical data, I sometimes wonder what they mean, so maybe I would love to get some feedback if y'all have energy to put it into the forums, because I wonder if you want to replay certain specific flights that have known data, or if it's literally data from 1956 on September 14th worldwide, right? That is, first off, nobody has that data, issue number 1. But what's really needed and desired, because there's a slightly different things. As far as can we go forward, like when we think about going forward, can we do something maybe with NavBlue? It's been discussed. It was sort of, we shied away from it because the data was just so gigantic. Like, oh my God, where do we even put that? But I'd love to understand more how important this is for folks. Please just engage in the forums. We read it all, by the way, in case you don't think that, we do.
Thanks, everyone. That's all of our pre-selected questions. So we have about 5 minutes left. We'll take a few more live questions here before saying goodbye to everyone. So go ahead, throw your questions. I know they're. I'll try to read a couple of them here. And Jörg, if you see anything you want to address as well, feel free.
So effects we talked about.
I see a lot of questions about crash to desktop.
Sure.
Maybe just go over a little bit how this works and how the process we have. So we have a fairly big QA teams working at Asobo and Microsoft. We have fairly sophisticated reporting systems, so we know exactly how many crashes there are, what is causing crashes, and so we track this pretty accurately, pretty precisely. We fix crashes all the time, and some crashes are harder to fix than others, because sometimes it just crashes is in some mystical area of the system. We don't know if it's driver related, hardware related, and sometimes we just don't know the cause, or we don't know the cause right away. So it takes some time until we get additional info, such as what is the hardware, what is the context, what did the person do before or after, or has there been files moved around on the hard drive? Is the disk full? Many things can go wrong, but crashes have been and before anything else, it's always our highest priority, right? If the sim crashes, you can't fly around, and so we are tracking this. We're getting an awesome report from Microsoft very often on just how well the sim is performing, how many crashes there are, etc. And we're trying to keep this extremely low, right? But there's always, PCs are living things, right? There's always new drivers, new stuff coming, and sometimes there's new crashes, right? So we're tracking these very closely, and any information we can get that helps us find what is the cause. Is it hardware? Is it something that people do? Helps us really fix these faster.
Mm.
So I can also talk about the bug on live weather that happens at 8 o'clock p.m. Zulu time. We're on it. I don't know if it's fixed yet, but we're working on that. I don't know exactly what is it, but we know it in the code is to have this fixed as soon as possible.
Okay,
saw something about obstacle stuff. Basically, I think people said towers and whatnot. Yes, we're looking at obstacles. We actually, if you have some suggestions, we try to find a worldwide database. There isn't one. I actually talked to Orbix about some specific cases in Australia and how they go about it. So if you have some ideas, it's one of those things that we want to get right. We know we don't have it right. So we are our current plan is to go country by country alongside world updates. We haven't done that yet, but it sure would be nice if there would be some global database somehow, but it doesn't seem like there is, because I think, I hear that sometimes you have to go to the electric companies to really understand where the towers are and whatnot. But yeah, if you have some ideas, please just write something.
Xbox beta question mark.
You can just quick fire through this stuff.
Yeah.
Types. I think there is a general idea that we want to keep improving the weather. Seb, do you want to talk about this? I think you're closest to it.
On the weather?
New cloud types is what people are asking for. Like
Cirrus clouds.
Yes. I think currently we're really working on cloud simulation. It's a physically based simulation of how clouds behave, and it's easy for us to just take a slider and pull it up and say, hey, let's pump up the resolution by 100 times. You can just infinitely pump up the number of calculations, and so what we're currently doing is really optimization and make it more efficient, so that we can then later put up more detail into the system. I think I've seen a question also about basically release times and hotfixes. Why we don't just make a hotfix of a very small change, and like if there's a one-line bug, why don't we just fix it? So I think we're trying to have a very robust test pipeline in PC or software development. There's such things as sometimes stuff overwrites memory, for example, and it can be not the software, it can be a driver, it can be something writes in memory. And even a one-line change can move stuff around. And you cannot really predict a one-line fix somewhere can move around some memory corruption somewhere else that just breaks the system. And so we have to retest. And so it's based off the release pipeline. We can't just do a 10-minute hotfix, right? When we change anything, even just a line of code, there's a very long test process. It goes through several different teams, which are independent. It gets certified, and then it can get published. So we can't do let's do a 1-minute change and add a frame rate counter somewhere and just release that. It has to be tested every time, and so we're very careful at what we actually. That's why we have roadmaps and try to predict what we're going to do, because we can't just we don't have 50 test pipelines which allow us to have a release a day. There's just so many test teams, and we can just publish a build every so often, and that's why there isn't like a hotfix a day or stuff like that.
Right. Yep. Thanks for that explanation, Seb. And last question, Jorg. Can you provide any updates on an Xbox beta or release date, as everyone's been asking?
I don't know if you guys know who Phil Spencer is, but he would murder me.
Probably.
It's tomorrow.
What?
No.
Yeah.
Progress has been great.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's what I should say. Progress has been great. Confidence is great. So
That's
just talking about this morning.
That's what you get.
The work that the team is doing is great too. They're working super hard to make that happen.
Yeah. And are we still planning some kind of beta for it?
It's a good question.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good question. I honestly think we'll decide in the next few weeks what can be done. There is something, maybe I should say that. Maybe I can say that. Like there is I think people know that alongside Xbox, there will be a release of a PC update because the two things have to be in lockstep, right? It's cross-play and cross-save and cross everything.
Okay.
That PC update, we're most likely going to go flight.
Okay.
At least because Seb, do you want to speak to it? But Seb always tells me exactly what's going on. So on that technical side, so please.
Well, I think it's a very important PC build that we need to flag because it has a lot of, as we keep saying for the last Q&A sessions, it has a lot of optimizations and system rewrites, and so we need more than ever people to look at it. Does it run well on our hardware? Does it perform as it should? And there's also, sim improvements of course. But so all the optimizations are in there, and so there can always be regressions, and I don't know, maybe it's stuttering on this hardware or stuff like this. So that's why it's very important to have this one flight. We've set up this pipeline to be able to put out a build a few weeks early. I think we've done it twice now, and this is really needed, and we'll continue to do so.
Yep. Fantastic. All right, chat. That is the end of our Q&A session today. Of course, we'll have another one next month sometime. We'll keep updated on the date for that. Appreciate everyone asking questions and bringing your feedback and thoughts to this. It really helps us moving forward with all these Q&As. And does the three of you, do you have anything else you want to add before we close out?
I can say that it makes me super happy to read the threads, like just looking at the chat, and the optimism and positive thoughts are super welcome. It's not always like this. Sometimes we have bugs and people are appropriately grumpy and all that stuff, but it's really great to see that you believe in us.
Yes.
And we are here to really make you happy. That's the job. And so thank you.
Thanks, Jorg. Yep, I think that really keeps us going. Thanks for believing in our team, everyone, and hope to bring you the best simulator possible. So we will see you, at least on this stream. We'll be here on Friday for our regular Fly-In Friday. So I'll see you guys then, and I hope everyone has a great end of May and beginning of June. All right, see everybody. Say bye, guys.
Bye. Keep safe.
Thank
Bye.
you.